You've tuned in to RTD Radio.
Good for you.
There you go. Once again,
Yeah.
we're here. Yeah, we're here for another episode of RTD Radio. Thank you all for
3.
Yeah, that's right. Part 3 of our paranormal topic.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in to us once again.
One more time.
I think on this one we're probably gonna wrap up the whole paranormal.
Well, as much as we
for right now.
can.
Yeah, as much as we can.
We missed a bunch of topics. I don't know. We're not gonna get into the Black Eyed Kids.
Yeah, I think I'll save that for a whole nother show. Yeah, but it's all right.
Okay.
But there's just too much, and I don't want to miss out on some of the other topics.
Yeah.
Like the Bible we talked about, and some of the political things, and
I mean, this is our first series,
exactly.
So we don't wanna burn all of our cartridges, on this first firing away of stuff, So
yeah, that's true, and like you said, there's just. As far as the paranormal topic, there's just too much to talk about it, even in 3 shows.
But we will
get to it. We will, trust me. And
we're
of course,
just, we're just going off of your comments right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And trying to finish out the first part of paranormal so that we can move on to the next title in our series.
Mm-hmm.
Once we're done with the first 5 parts that we talked about, the Bible, the paranormal, the scientific aspect, etc., then we will focus more specifically on just one subject and do one subject per show, right?
Yeah, the best we can.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's the idea. And going off y'all's comments, we might change things up a little bit. We might talk about other things.
Yeah, we just kind of want to wrap it up for the paranormal right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess by touching the big subjects.
Yeah, some of the larger subjects and some of the more well-known. I would think that some of the stuff we're going to talk about right now is a little bit more well-known to the general audience. Really.
It's the mainstream type deals.
So let's go into it, Carlos.
Yeah, you want to just
what do
dive,
you have lined up?
You want to just dive head on into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, why don't we start by talking about witchcraft.
Witchcraft and witches. Wow.
Yeah, which is kind of had been leading up to this. We talked about the astral plane.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the cell phone analogy you gave.
The Ouija board? Yeah.
The Ouija board, exactly. The cell phone to the ethereal plane.
We talked about channelers.
About mediums.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about some interactions with demons. So these are that was kind of borderline physical interactions, but still within the spiritual realm.
Exactly. I think this episode we're gonna try to go more towards more physical.
More physical, yeah.
Things you can actually kind of touch.
Yeah.
Or
these
see.
Are the physical things that people are doing now,
mm-hmm.
right? So I guess we start with the definition.
Yeah.
Definition as defined by Wikipedia. And I'm going to keep it short. They have a big definition. I'm just going to use the first sentence because it just exemplifies everything. So according to Wikipedia, witchcraft is defined as also called witchery or spellcraft. Broadly means the practice of and belief in magical skills and abilities that are able to be exercised by individuals and certain social groups.
Wow.
So notice that they made an emphasis on broadly means because so many cultures around the world have their own flavor of witchcraft.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm going to try and do on this show that I got called on by some of our, I was going to say viewers, our listeners.
Of our listeners.
To be more specific on what Bible verses we're actually quoting, which honestly, at least I had tried to avoid because we don't want to get into a theological discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Different people have different interpretations of certain verses. So I didn't want to go to the verse and say, well, because this verse says this, we can imply this. Because honestly, that's like a whole subject unto itself.
Yeah.
The interpretation of certain phrases and verses in the Bible, they're up for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, But this time I'm going to try and at least point to the chapters, right? So that you're not just like saying, well, you said in the Bible, but could you please tell me where? Yeah. So,
I'll be specific. It's all right.
Okay, that's cool.
No.
For those two of you that asked for that, well, there you go. There was 2 people that asked me for that.
When I looked up witch, it's according to dictionary.com, or even in the Oxford Dictionary, it's a person, nowadays especially a woman, who profess or is supposed to practice magic or sorcery, also known as a sorceress. Now, in this case, like I just mentioned, it's a woman. Now, a male on the other side would be either a warlock or a wizard.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not just limited to
or sorcerer.
To gender. Yeah, or sorcerer, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So we just defined a witch according to the dictionary.
Yeah. So the word witch, as pertaining to witchcraft, they're trying to make it feminine, but what we're saying is that, the idea of being sorcerer-like or conjuring is what we're actually talking about. And here in the Valley, it's actually an extremely popular thing. And it's a very dangerous thing because a lot of people think they're playing games or they're being light about these things that they're doing, and they don't realize what they're dealing with, who they're dealing with, and of course they're not going to know why.
Yeah.
Which is what we want to get into.
Yeah. And some of these witches are... I'll be honest with you, some of these witches do have power. Some of them do have power. They can do things.
Yeah.
It's things that naturally I would not be able to do, or you. They have knowledge and they're able to... They have different abilities. Yeah. Now, some of these abilities that they do have would be... They might have skills in botany. Now, what that is like using herbs or using certain leaves or certain plants to... They mix it, make some kind of... I don't know, some concoction to heal, to do whatever. They can do different things. Another one would be like making potions. Yeah. Now that sounds so like old school, making potions, but there's still a lot of people out there that will go to these yerverias or these witch doctors, and sure enough, what do? They'll mix in a few ingredients here and there, and they'll give you something to drink. Yeah. Now, exactly what is that? It's a potion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another thing is some of them can heal. Yeah. As far as you have an illness, a sickness, some of these witches actually do heal your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
They also can make curses, so they can actually curse somebody so that bad things happen to them or their loved ones. Yes. The obvious, of course, magic. They do practice their sort of magic.
Yeah,
which
there's
is
different kinds.
Yeah, there's different kinds of magic, and we can get into the black magic and the white magic. We can get into a good witch and a bad witch.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that doesn't exist. They also have the ability to soothsay, tell the future.
Yes.
That's where you get to like your fortune tellers and whatnot. That's another form of like an ability that a witch would have, and also a channeler, like the medium, like we just described. That would be an attribute that a witch would have.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. On your more paranormal, like your more extreme levels, some of these witches are even known to shapeshift.
Well,
and that's where you got like a story I gave previously of the lechuza.
Lechuza.
Yeah, it's going to be a witch, or even skinwalkers.
There you go.
Yeah, I would encourage a lot of you guys to Google skinwalkers. Yeah. Now, when we think of witch, we always think of the Western picture of the big crooked nose on the broom with the wart and the big hat.
Yeah.
Now, witches in other cultures don't look like that. So, like a witch in like Native American lore would not at all look like that.
Yeah.
A witch in
Native Irish Wiccan style.
Exactly. They don't look like that at all.
They're actually beautiful, or depicted as.
Yeah, they're depicted as
very
nice,
beautiful women.
Yeah. So you get skinwalkers, and that would be like a shapeshifter, and to even like more extent, like even like a werewolf, for example.
Okay.
Where they can pretty much curse you to become one, for example.
Yeah. So where do we go off saying that these things are true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For starters, and I'm going to keep saying this word, empirical data. All of these stories recollected across the whole world, across the span of modern time, at least, recorded history.
Mm-hmm.
They're all saying the same stories, describing the same entities, describing the same side effects of these quote unquote potions, like Armando was saying. Mm-hmm. And we correlate that or compare it to what Scripture says. Now, there is a non-canonized book, which we referenced in our last show, the Book of Enoch. And curiously, without getting too far into the Book of Enoch itself, which...
it's not very long. I would encourage you guys to read it. There's even an app for it. And it's a very easy read. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah. You also have to be very careful because there's 3 versions of the Book of Enoch. So we want to stick to the Ethiopian.
Yeah, there's like Book of Enoch 1, 2, and 3. You want to stick to the 1.
Yeah,
it's literally
the
book
one. The Ethiopian version or Ethiopic, because they do have different versions. Yeah. Right. Anyways, the idea is that
somebody had to teach these skills.
Yes, and the Book of Enoch actually names them and goes as far as to describe the attributes of these different angels and which information they taught humans. Yeah. Right. One of them is to cast spells, and there's another specific angels that taught humans counter spells. Mm-hmm. So if you will, there's your black and your white magic, whatever, right? We don't want to get into that discussion. Yeah. But the idea is that this Book of Enoch, which curiously is quoted verbatim by some of the apostles, was thought of as common knowledge back in those days. So to them, this was like our modern dictionary, if you will, of terms and of history,
like our modern history books. Like
our modern
just
history
common knowledge.
Books.
Yeah,
exactly. So they weren't suggesting or theorizing that these things are true. They were telling you.
Yeah, to them it was truth. Yeah, exactly.
This is truth. This is who gave us these truths. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a part in the Book of Enoch where the fallen angels ask Enoch to intercede for them because apparently they're sorry, right? After they do all these things, they give away all the secrets, all of a sudden they're sorry. So they ask Enoch to intercede, and Enoch does, and basically God tells them no, hands down some punishments, and goes as far as telling them, if you think you stole or you divulged or gave away the secrets of heaven, you're sorely mistaken, because you talked about or gave away the worthless secrets. Now, for God to be telling Enoch, the middleman, hey, go and tell these guys that they don't know anything. And nowadays we have people engaged in witchcraft and all these things that have proven to have some outcome.
Positive or negative, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot. So, there's 11 different occurrences in 11 different verses in the Bible where we have the reference to witchcraft or divination or soothsaying. Right now, this is the official Bible, not the Book of Enoch. And basically, throughout these 11 occurrences, God himself, in some cases, when he's talking to Moses, is telling the people, do not do this. Do not seek these people. Do not engage in activity with these soothsayers or divinators or witchcraft.
Yeah,
those guys, right?
It's something bad.
It's something bad.
God kind of portrays it as something bad that you kind of want to stay away from.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree.
Yeah. And in my point of view, just grounding this to the shows we've been doing, these past 3 shows, it's not that it might not be a bad thing in itself. It's just that it's not for us to be engaged in. Those things exist for other entities or other things within creation, because it's their domain. It's not our domain. It's not our domain to be trying to fortune tell the future. It's not our domain to be casting spells against each other. It's not our domain to be doing these things, obviously there's some divine mechanism in play that we're taking advantage of and we're piggybacking off of to achieve these tangible results. But this is why God's warning us against it. You know, it's not that they don't exist. He clearly admits that they exist. Yeah. It's just that they're not for us. Yeah. They're not meant for us. And they're going to have a negative outcome. So, you know, this is more or less what we wanted to arrive at on this last show. You know, to not dive into more specific cases of witches or go down the list of witches in the news or witches that have been caught on camera or whatever, or mass sightings of people that, you know, because there is a huge list. There
is, yeah. I mean, just type it up on YouTube, and you're gonna have tons of videos. I know when I first met Carlos, a video I showed him was this huge popular one of the witch of Monterrey.
In Monterrey, yes.
It's a massive city in Mexico. I'm sorry. Yeah. That they had this huge witch sighting, supposedly even attacked some paramedics, and it was on the major news in Mexico. It would have been like the equivalent of like the nightly news. Like it was on Primer Impacto. It was like like they had a good 20-minute
and they had video.
And they had video, like a good 20-minute report on it. Yeah. Where they had that
and they had analysts.
And analysts try to debunk it and whatnot. Where they had videos of her on her broom and whatnot. Yeah. But
and there's a bunch of examples like that. You know, but I guess the takeaway from all of this is, y'all, this is real. This is legit. You know, you're warned about it. You know, it's gonna have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like Carlos says, it does exist. I mean, God's not going to make it a law. God's not going to make a law against something that's not happening or that doesn't exist. Yeah. And if he made a law, it's because, you know why? Because they were already doing it.
Exactly.
So when we look at like the books of the law in the Bible, it's because the people are already doing it that he has to make a law against it. Yes. Like you're not going to make a law against killing somebody if nobody's ever died of a murder. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So until it happens is when you... Exactly. Until it happens is when you actually have to make a law against it. Yeah. Now, my point of view, the way I see it, one of the reasons God doesn't want us to go to these people, going back to it, some of these people can heal. They can tell the future or give the impression they can, and they have these abilities. Now, the tendency of a person is they're going to start depending on that witch more than they depend on God. Yeah. So I can see already, even nowadays, where if I can go to the witch down the street, that's going to give me some herbs to make so and so fall in love with me, or give me some potion to make me lose weight. To some people, I can see that being easier than actually just praying. Yeah. Or actually
being disciplined. Or
being disciplined. You're gonna want to go the easy route, when in the end that's gonna lead to death. Really. Exactly. Yeah. And I myself do not view witchcraft, Wicca, voodoo, any of these magic, dark, Santeria. Yeah. I don't view anything at all as positive. And honestly, I just turn the other way. For me, it surprises me that people even look at it in a positive light, given, like, I don't know anybody that has had a success story with a witch or
there's tangible results. I think that's what gets people.
You might have the short-term benefits, but later on, like it comes full circle, man. It's going to come back at you.
And they never do something like incredible.
Yeah.
It's always something minor that can always be left to interpretation, just like the theme of witchcraft itself. I mean, there's never been a person who's won the lottery repeatedly.
At least that we know of, yeah.
That we know of.
Yeah, and an argument I've heard is if they can, I mean, human beings are like that. Anything we have, we're going to use to our advantage. So I'm going to tell you right now, if I could tell the future, I would play the lottery every single day. Yeah. Or as much as I could. That's just my human nature, and who wouldn't? You see what I'm saying? Like I don't know anybody that can sit there and tell me if they could tell the future, they wouldn't go and use it to their benefit.
And no. Too much of anything is bad.
Is bad, yeah.
Too much of a good thing is bad. So just to exemplify, you might say, well, what about healers? What bad is there in healing? Well, see, how do you know that whomever is receiving this healing was supposed to get healed in the first place? I mean, it just sprouts off into a whole bunch of
or not even
what
that,
ifs.
yeah. Or like even what I said, you start getting dependent on the person and not who gave them that power. Exactly. And I can go back to the example of like Peter in the Bible. They started worshiping him, and he gets mad, saying, "I'm just a guy. Worship God that gave me that power." And I can see people easily just idolizing that individual. Yeah. Now, one thing I did want to touch on is just like the incubus and succubus. Back then, witches were viewed as like revolting, disgusting creatures that were just ugly. I mean, aberrations. They were always the outcasts of the city. They never were like part of normal society. They were always out, and because they were just ugly. Yeah. Nowadays, it's backwards. Nowadays, witches are cool. I mean, you got movies like of course you got Harry Potter. How many kids did I not see in school dressed up like in little Hogwarts outfits, practicing magic? And the parents are buying them this, encouraging them to practice magic with their wand. Yeah. Or let's say, like even in the Avengers, what's one of the main characters? The Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, the Scarlet Witch.
Now it's seemingly like, oh, it's nothing. She's just a witch. No, like realize what you're saying. She's just a witch. But going back to the Harry Potter films, now
they're oxymorons.
That's very dark. Those movies are very dark. You also got movies like The Craft. What are the movies? I know there's some other dark movies.
Witches of Salem.
Yeah, there's an actual show called Salem.
Eastwick. There you go. Salem,
yeah, there's an actual show called Salem. Yeah. There's a show. I mean, The Vampire Diaries. A lot of people are into that. One of the main characters is a witch, but they portray her as very beautiful and, of course, using her powers for good. I mean, but I'm not gonna recommend anybody watch it because I didn't find anything appealing about it. But they portray witches as something awesome, something cool. Like you want one as your friend. Yes, it's always good to have that witch in your corner. Yeah. You got like the show Constantine. Now, of course, we're talking about witches as the women. Now, Constantine, that would be the warlock. Yeah. Now he gets out of sticky situations, or he's able to do different incantations or different curses to get himself out of to fighting other demons or whatnot, but he's still really using magic. He's still a witch. Exactly. You got the show Charmed. I mean, you got movies. They even try to make it fun, like in that movie Hocus Pocus. Yeah. Now, as a little kid, yes, I saw it because I didn't know any better, and I thought it was funny. Looking back at it now, they're witches. They really are. I mean, they're witches. It's just it is what it is.
They're trying to make it light.
Yeah, they're trying to make light of a serious topic. I mean, people literally died back then just in the accusation of being a witch. Now, am I justifying that? No. But it goes to show you the seriousness of the matter.
Yeah. It seems like they want to be real sly in introducing these things into mainstream pop culture. Thinking about when I was smaller, the show Bewitched.
That shows Carlos's age right there.
There you go. I'm not that old, bro.
I know he's not. It was a reruns on TV Land. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry.
The idea is that she wasn't engaged in anything evil, or that people might call evil, but just the idea of her being able to teleport anywhere and just have these powers over people affects your subconscious mind in a way that's so subtle yet so deterministic at the end of the road. It's kind of like, it's almost like that first puff of some narcotic. Everyone's having a good time. They're not doing it to be bad people. They're not all junkies. They make it seem like it's this enticing, cool thing. Mm-hmm. And they give you a show like Bewitched, which is kind of like a comedy, actually. Yeah. She gets into these precarious situations and
has to use her magic to get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Has to use her magic to get out of them. Now, fast forward to modern times, and you've got shows like Grimm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all had the opportunity to see that. I think it was on ABC.
NBC, I think.
Yeah. The idea, Grimm is actually a demon chasing other demons, because there's a whole group of demons that are so bad that only a demon can get after them. Yeah. And that show is hardcore stuff. I mean, they name real names. They actually go as far as to name parts of some hardcore incantations.
Yeah, the same with Constantine.
Yeah.
That one actually got canceled.
Yeah.
I don't want to say because of that, but they were, just like you said, they were naming demons. And actually, like you said, they were even showing you the actual incantation process.
Exactly.
Things like that. Now, it's all entertainment, good. Oh, that's cool.
No, come on.
Yeah, come on, guys. Really, in reality, no. If I walked into and I saw my son doing that, no.
Exactly.
That would not make me happy.
Which is where we want to get at.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point of this discussion for our listeners out there. Little games are the stepping stones. You know, they're the gateway drug, if you will, into these hardcore things. And if you're not doing your job as a parent, I mean, I'm going to call it what it is. Sometimes it's real difficult as a parent to try and say no to these trendy things, especially when your kids come at you with like, well, all of my friends have this.
Like Harry Potter.
Like Harry Potter, the Pokemon games, like a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, we're not going to get into. But this was forewarned, and it was a big thing. Such a big thing that I'm going to go back to the Bible real quick. In 1 Timothy.
Quote it.
At 1 Timothy, what is it? Here, I have it here. I got Leviticus, 1 Timothy 4:1. Sorry. Because actually 4:1 and 4:2. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Ooh. If that doesn't just sum up what we just said, you know, I don't know what does. Here, the context of this 1 Timothy is here. The Apostle Paul is giving counsel to his buddy Timothy, who's newer in the faith. You know, the Apostle Paul has some road covered. He's got notches in his belt. You know, he's cast out some demons. He's been playing the game on the front lines for a while. Timothy is a newcomer, and Paul is basically giving him tips and pointers and counsel. And for him to go as far as saying, look, in the latter times, which is foreboding to times way after them two, people are going to depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
That's ugly.
That's them saying, if you think it's ugly now, in the future it's going to get uglier. Yeah. The problem is that's why we have the church, because we're trying to train everybody to see these things, to expect them, and to keep the faith. Why? Obviously, because these seducing spirits and these devils are going to be performing tangible acts that will deceive the faint of heart. Yeah. Those with little faith in their heart.
And I think a key word you said was seductive. Yeah. Now, just like I said, they make. Now, when we think of seductive, we automatically think of sexy. I mean, because it is. It's not just that. It's not just that. Like a candy or something fun is seductive. Yeah. Like Harry Potter will seduce kids to thinking that that's cool. Exactly. It's seducing the kids to say, you know what?
You don't want to be a mogul.
You don't want to be a muggle. There it goes. There exactly. Go, or like movies like Charmed and whatnot, or shows like that. Yeah, it's seductive because of course these witches they're young and beautiful. Or shows like Constantine, where it's like a handsome dude that is able to do all these things. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna attract you to it. Yeah, I think the days of the witch with the wart on her face, the Wizard of Oz witch, are kind of gone. Now it's gonna be like the bewitched witches, where wiggles her nose and it's cute kind of thing comes up. Yeah, now or even like the Scarlet Witch in Avengers. Now she's a hero. Now it's now it's not even nothing bad. Now it's like, dude, you're a hero now. Like people look up to her for help to come and save them. So yeah, you're right. And I wanted to touch on that. It's seductive. I did want to give some specific Bible verses mentioning a witch, just to further cement what we were talking about, that these things do exist. I did allude to it. Actually, I had mentioned it last time. It was 1 Samuel 28, the witch of Endor. Where she's specifically called a witch. They call her a witch or channeler in some different translations. I'll let you read that when she channels the spirit of Samuel. Another one would be in Acts 8, verse 9 through 25. Now, there was a specific individual. His actual name and title was Simon the Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Now, what this guy would do is, in a small little town, he would go performing all these little miracles.
Yeah.
He could heal this, do whatever not. So the local townsfolk automatically came to him for any help.
Yeah.
They came to him, and they thought, well, this guy must be a man of God because he's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, lo and behold, one of the apostles comes and straight out says no. Yeah. Like, no, I can do what you're doing, because he was doing some powerful magic. The apostle goes, I can do what you're doing and even more. And he started preaching, of course, the gospel of Christ, to the point where the sorcerer himself even became baptized.
Yeah.
But later on, he actually tries to buy offers money for these quote-unquote powers as he saw it.
Yeah, to cast out.
Yeah, to cast out and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that was another example. Another one that's actually, I love myself, a good story was the actual, the story of Bar Jesus, B-A-R hyphen Jesus. And that's in Acts 13, 6 through 11. It's only 5 verses. Paul's on the island of Cyprus. He wanted to go talk to the ruler of the little island. But there's one little sorcerer, the little witch guy named Bar Jesus. It's funny because Bar Jesus actually means like not Jesus. Like anti-Jesus, pretty much. And he keeps pestering the apostles. He keeps bothering them.
Yeah.
Where the verse I love is when he tells them this. He straight out tells them to his face, this witch, this warlock, you are a child of the devil and an enemy of everything that is right. You are full of all kinds of deceit and trickery. Will you never stop perverting the right ways of the Lord? So this is the Apostle Paul telling that to a witch. So now think of that. Whenever you meet a witch or see a witch on TV or think it's cool, remember what the Apostle Paul said when he said, you are a child of the devil and an enemy of everything that is right.
Yeah. Get it right.
So, get it right. So don't think that there's a good witch and a bad witch.
No,
or there's witches. Just the ones in the middle, the gray ones. No. A witch is an enemy of everything that is right. They're literally full of all kinds of deceit and trickery because they themselves have been deceived and tricked.
Yes.
Yeah, into thinking that they have these powers when it's not.
Yeah.
One quick other one was, off the top of my head, was, I don't know the exact verse, but was the fortune teller where she was possessed.
Yeah.
And this kind of ties back to our previous show, the demon possession.
Yeah.
Because once the demon's in you, the demon has abilities, so he's going to exercise his abilities within you.
Yeah.
So somebody, exactly. So somebody that can tell the future and do all this stuff, a lot of times that individual is possessed. So a lot of these quote unquote witches out there are literally just unfortunate victims of an actual possession.
That's a good point. I wouldn't say unfortunate victim. I would say they, like Malachi alludes to, they did it willfully.
Yeah, but at the end of as long as there's breath in their lives, they have hope. There's breath in their lungs, they have hope. Yeah. They can repent.
Yes.
So when I say unfortunate, and I go back to it, they were tricked. Yes, they were willfully allowed that demon to go into them, but they were tricked. Yeah, now, as long as there's breath in their lungs and they're able to speak, there's that chance for repentance and salvation. Yeah. So it is unfortunate. But you know what? Going back to it, these individuals are possessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on that. Sorry, Carlos.
Yeah. So don't don't be deceived.
Don't be deceived and thinking it's
the price that you might be asked to pay for all of these fancy parlor tricks.
Yeah.
Might just be your eternal damnation.
Yeah.
Which in the grand scheme of things, I think it's just a wage that's shouldn't even be on the table.
Exactly. Now, speaking like you just mentioned of parlor tricks.
Yeah.
Now, one of the famous tools or what witches are known for are what?
Oh, the tarot cards?
The tarot cards.
Yeah. I did mention we were going to talk about those a little bit. But, there's a lot of other things.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Runes. The tarot cards specifically have become popular. I mean, they've never stopped being popular, I think. There's a resurgence nowadays. And basically, if you've never heard of what a tarot reading is,
A fortune teller.
Yeah, it's a fortune teller. They do them over the phone nowadays. I've heard of apps, although I don't know if those are just kind of gimmicks.
What was it? The psychic hotline in with Miss Chloe or whatever. I think she just died recently.
It was a huge business.
Yeah, it was huge, like $1 million business. Yes, I think I think she just died recently.
Yeah. And basically, what they do is kind of like the Ouija board. Almost exactly like the Ouija board is they just have cards. A connection, and they use cards and interpret the way the cards fall on the table. And each column of cards has different meanings, and the positioning of each card has different meanings. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing we've been talking about for these past 2 shows. It's unlawful, illegal access to a realm that's not meant for you or me or any of us that are here. And I get the feeling that this is kind of where I get not happy, but I get I kind of get encouraged that we are more special than we ourselves make ourselves out to be. Because if these demons are going through such great lengths to interact with us, then we're worthy.
Yeah.
And whatever experience we're having must be an awesome thing in the grand scheme of things. Maybe even more awesome than whatever experience they were allowed to have. Or else they wouldn't waste their time.
Exactly.
They wouldn't waste their time trying to deceive
little
people.
Old Carlos or little old humans. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
And, like we were mentioning, possession doesn't have a profile. They'll go and bother a homeless person just like they'll go and deceive a rich person. And that tells me that even the life of a homeless person or somebody that in our society is considered as not successful is still vastly more important and beautiful and worthy than whatever it is they're doing. Or else, who would go and bother a bum if their experience isn't an amazing thing? So I get encouraged when I get down, and when sometimes I'm like, man, I'm not in the position where I wish I could be, or I don't have this car, or I don't have money to do this or buy that house or go here or go there. I look at the world, I see all of this deception all around us, all of these attempts at skewing our perception into following these seductive spirits, and you realize where it leads to. And to me, it's like, wait a minute, just the sheer fact that I'm here enjoying a radio podcast with my friend Armando, interacting with all of y'all, is amazing and vastly superior to, this seductive spirit who's seething at the mouth, trying to get a tidbit of my attention.
Yeah.
So whatever.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah. These things are literally, there's a battle out there for your attention. Yeah. And there's a war out there for your mind. So
definitely.
Yeah. Now, let me just define the tarot cards really quick.
Okay.
Yeah. And basically, there's a pack of playing cards. They really didn't get starting to be used for divination until like the 18th century, from what I read. Now, specifically, a tarot has 4 suits. Now, for those of you who know, like the plain cards, like you got your Ace of Spades, your diamonds, clubs, and the.
Well, that also depends on the deck.
Yeah, there's different decks for different cultures, but in general, there's 4 suites or suits. Each suit has 14 cards, 10 cards numbering from 1 to 10, and there's the 4 cards, the face cards, the King, Queen, Knight, and the Jack. And usually there's also another card called the Fool.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, just like you alluded to, like there's like a French version, a British version, American version, things like that.
Exactly.
But along the lines that they're gonna run, that's like your basic outline. Now, don't think they're gonna have little clubs on it. Now, each card has like a picture depicting something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know myself. I've never messed with it. I'm not going to. But from what I've seen, like on TV or different pictures and whatnot, each card will have like a scene on it, like a painting on it, or some kind of depiction.
Yeah, which is why is there's some versions that are just pictograms.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, in my limited experience, they don't even need to be cards. You can actually get pieces of paper and draw sigils, very specific sigils that are going to signify what these suits signifies. And you can do your tarot reading
like a homemade version
with scrap paper with the correct sigils. Because what's happening, like we mentioned with the Ouija board, there's a configuration. Each sigil has a significance. And when you do the metaphoric interpretation, what you're doing is just making sentences.
Yeah.
You know, you ask a specific question, and based on the way the cards fall, it implies the answer.
Yeah.
A Ouija board, just you literally have to go through the letters, and it's spelled out for you. But you know, there's a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
Runes are no different.
Yeah. I would generally view tarot cards as something bad, not good, because I view it just like you mentioned, just like the Ouija board. You're kind of inviting an entity or some outside power to interpret the future for you or the present. When there's no need for that. You know what I'm saying?
And
like you don't need that. Yeah, and who knows if they're telling you the truth, or once you invite something in, you're giving it the authority and the power to stay there.
Yeah.
Really. It can leave whenever it wants. And like you mentioned, there's rune stones, which are like dice, for example.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people that can read like tea leaves.
Yeah.
Or the coffee,
cigarette smoke.
I was about to say cigarette smoke.
Palm.
Of course, your palm readers.
Your palm readers is a very
things like that.
Popular one. And they all spring from the same ideology. And again, if you want to know a little more specifically, go back to the Book of Enoch. They'll tell you which specific fallen angel is responsible for teaching man.
Yeah. And it's been passed down ever since.
It's been passed down ever since. So, I guess that's kind of without going more into detail on other things. That's kind of the limit of the spiritual / physical things that you can see or get into without fully going into like a full-blown manifestation of a demon.
It's gonna lead to that eventually,
which is the last part or one of the last parts in
quick. I want to say something real quick.
No, jump in there, man.
Of course, we're saying that these things are bad and how we avoid them. Now, I know there's gonna be people out there, and I know people out there that they'll go and actually try to confront a witch, or they'll go and try to actually like do their best to kind of poke at it. Now, we're saying it's bad and we're saying it exists. That doesn't mean go out there and try to actually like get one mad, for example, because like we mentioned, these individuals have some sort of abilities, and I don't want that. Just avoid it like the plague. Don't go out of your way to go get one mad. Don't go finding trouble in a fortune teller shop. Things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a disclaimer.
Don't walk around scared of them.
Exactly. To be honest with you, they should be more scared of you because you know the truth. But at the same time, don't go looking for trouble. I know people that go out there and just try to beat one over the head with the Bible or something. You know what? It's
well, but it's like anything, if you're gonna go to the running of the bulls,
you expect to get gored.
Don't stop. Don't start crying when you're in the hospital and you're gored. Right now, that you can be a spectator of the running of the bulls, know of the running of the bulls, and maybe even laugh at a few suckers who were idiot enough to go in there. But that doesn't mean you need to be scared of the bulls. Especially when you're taking your precautions and that you're at a safe distance. Speaking metaphorically.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Like, just don't go messing around with it. Even jokingly, don't think here.
And there are rules. Here I'm going to step a little bit out of the boundaries of, I'm going to go out on the limb. Let me just say like that. And I'm going to go back to a conversation I had with a taxi driver who started asking me very specific things about witchcraft and about all these kinds of things. And basically what I told him was there are rules, right? There are rules to everything. Just like to be able to read a tarot deck, you get instructed by somebody, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There are rules of interpretation. There are rules of engagement for everything. So when you're covered by the blood of Christ and you're walking within the faith, within the commandments, it's kind of like your armor, right? It's kind of like, yeah, well, it is your armor. And I think that this is the reason why when we did something, God created rules and created a way for us to protect ourselves. And as long as you don't open these doors or leave doors open for bad things to happen, they're not gonna, and you have to be real sincere with yourself and not hold the double standard with yourself in order to be confident of your walk and of your protection, and I know that's going to hit a few people.
It's all good.
That I know.
So what else we got, Carlos?
So what I was mentioning was these rules, and this taxi driver, he was just real eager, and it was because apparently somebody was performing some kind of magic on him, and he was feeling the effects of it. Yet his brother, who is mixed into the same ambiance, knows the same people, apparently is getting attacked the same way. His brother is not receiving or seeing the effects. And, after conversing with him a while, I got the idea that this is why he was so, curious. Like, why is this happening to me and not to my brother, we're doing the same things.
Yeah.
We know the same people. We're probably getting attacked by the same witch. Why am I getting the low end of the stick and he is not?
Yeah.
And that's why, I'm nobody to judge anybody's walk. The only one who will judge is God himself. But it all has to do with your walk, with the way you are walking, how confident you are in your armor. And that's going to make the difference. Whether witchcraft is going to work on you or not, what's going to make the difference? Your walk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to make the difference. Is that specific witch incredibly powerful, et cetera, et cetera? They might be. They might be the most powerful. Yet if your walk is strong enough and it is sincere, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be sitting with Lucifer himself and it's not going to matter. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought of him, and there are some people that I know that kind of try and talk to me about these things, but they don't want to directly say, well, I went to a fortune teller.
Yeah.
Some people in my family, they know I have a strong opinion about this and other things, and they don't want to just blatantly go out and, I ran some tarot cards, or I asked and they told me this and that.
Yeah.
You know what? You're opening the door. Just because you did that, you done opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
Your curiosity killed the cat, per se. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So be strong in your faith. Walk your walk. Be disciplined. It's said real easy and done very difficult. But that's my say. That's my say on that.
There you go.
That's my say. I don't know, Armando, you got anything to
No, I give my
add
disclaimer.
to that?
No. I agree with everything you said.
All right.
Now, in talking about tarot cards and rune stones and tea leaves and whatnot, I know there's there's a popular card game out there that is similar that people have attributed to as to like reading the future or foretelling things. And you can Google it all you want. It's called the Illuminati playing card game. Now, I know it sounds so dumb, so cheesy. This game actually came out in September 1981. The main purpose was the game is it's where you pit ominous secret societies that compete with each other for control of the world through sinister means, including illegal, and even mystical means. I know Carlos is making this horrible face at me right now.
No, I was gonna say so it's kind of like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or any of those.
Something like that, but coincidentally, some of these playing card games that were developed in like 1981 will have pictures of like 9/11.
Yeah.
Or pictures of there was like a Trump one, I think,
the Trump card.
Or that's literally called the Trump card. I think there's like an Ebola one.
Yeah.
The Boston Marathon of the jogger. I mean, they even have one of Assange apparently.
Is September 11 on there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, well, like I said, it really depends on how far you want to go into it. Honestly, I would classify this as in like, the Simpsons predicted everything. Yeah, something like that. But even then, I know we laugh about it and joke about it. But even then, some of these games do have these sinister meanings behind it. Yeah. And listen to what I just said about what the game is about. It's about secret societies competing with each other for control of the world.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. That's so funny.
Well, but
I'm gonna buy it for my daughter.
That's the way it is.
No, you see, I sounded dumb for saying that, but how many parents out there actually are acting out what I just said?
No, you're right. You're right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, you're totally right.
If I can take something as dumb as an Illuminati playing card game and just throw it off like nothing, how many more people out there are doing the same thing with like the Ouija board or the tarot cards?
Yeah, which is what we've been saying.
Yeah, and that was my point at it. And I just wanted to kind of just briefly touch on that. Yeah. Good.
No, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. So you know what? Let's move on to the next topic, which literally could be a show of its own. Yeah. We're going to talk about UFOs, aliens, extraterrestrials,
flying objects, and the sorts.
Yeah. I think statistically, like the majority of Americans have seen something in the skies that they cannot identify.
Oh, yeah. Everyone has a story.
And I'll be honest with you, a UFO could be anything from the quote-unquote flying saucer to just an unknown bird. It's flying. You know?
Yeah. Well, unidentified.
I mean, in this context, I'm sorry, we're talking about the actual flying saucer phenomenon or the flying craft phenomenon that people are reporting.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
I have stories on
that. So do I. And I'll be honest with you, man. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because there's a lot of churches out there that a good chunk of their congregation has seen something in the sky that they can't explain, and unfortunately, they can't even go to their pastor or their religious leader and discuss it because it immediately gets thrown off as you're crazy or whatever.
What do UFOs have to do with the Bible?
The Bible or religion?
Right.
Quote unquote. Exactly. Yeah, we're making funny faces, and we'll tie it together at the end. Yeah. Now, an extraterrestrial is of or from outside the Earth or its atmosphere. So pretty much something not from here. That's what an extraterrestrial is.
Yeah, that's now a definition of it.
Yeah, sure. I know one of the famous movies out there is Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. I think
third
or something like that.
Spielberg.
Oh, that's the third. Yeah, I was talking about Fourth Kind, the one with the one from
literally called Fourth.
Yeah, it's literally called Fourth Kind, the one in Alaska.
Fire in the Sky.
Fire in the Sky. Yes, we'll get into that, but I wanted to really just break down the different kinds of UFO experiences.
Yes. Because apparently they're categorized, right?
Yeah, there's categorized.
How far do they go up?
To 5. To 5. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? You know what's funny? Let me go over the categories.
Yes.
The first category would be when a person sees a UFO within 150 meters.
So that's close encounter of the first kind?
That would be exactly. Close encounters of the first kind would be actually you're driving on the road doing whatnot or cutting your grass or whatever. You're somewhere and you see some object in the sky. That would be an encounter of the first kind.
Okay.
Now, how many people have not had one of those? I know I've seen something. A majority of people, and that's going to be the majority of these encounters.
Yeah.
An encounter with the UFO in the sky or on the ground that leaves evidence behind, such as scorch marks or indents in the ground or like smoke in the sky or whatever, that's going to be a second kind.
So close encounter of the second kind?
Exactly. So that's when you actually go from just seeing something to there's actual physical evidence, so like a remnant.
Like crop circles,
for example.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a close encounter of the second kind.
Okay.
Now, when an encounter is with visible occupants inside the UFO, then that's going to be the third kind.
The third.
Yeah, that's when it starts getting real, when you can actually start seeing the being or beings inside of this nuts and bolts object.
Okay.
That's when it gets the third kind.
Yes.
Now, the fourth kind involves a person being taken and experimented on inside the actual alien craft.
So abduction.
So in this case, yes, would be an abduction.
And that's the fourth kind?
That would be the fourth kind.
So what's like the fifth?
The fifth kind would involve direct communication between the alien and the human. Because for the majority, the abduction, they're not talking to you while they're doing these experiments. They're literally, you're just the specimen.
Yeah.
They're doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
You're terrified and and they just drop you off wherever. Now, you alluded to the movie Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
That would actually be the fourth kind.
The fourth, because they didn't ask him and they didn't really talk to him. They raped them.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Fire in the Sky is a movie that came out in, I think, 93. It's based on the story of Travis Walton.
There you go.
Of his abduction.
Yes.
Basically, it's a group of loggers in Arizona, and they literally encounter this object in the middle of the forest. Now, for whatever, they all run away, of course. Yeah. Of course, there's one guy, he has to be him. Travis Walton actually physically goes up to the object and touches it.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, by this time, his friends have already ran off already.
Yes.
And he goes missing for, I think, like 5 days.
Yeah, for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, and they're of course, the police arrested the friends, thinking they killed him and tried to hide the body. Yeah. Until, lo and behold, he just shows up out of nowhere. Okay. And he has this terrifying, horrible story of what they did to him in there. Now, the movie, I've heard interviews with Travis Walton, and it's ugly. I mean, it's ugly that some of the things they were doing to him.
Yes.
And the movie tries its best to kind of portray some of it. Of course, it's really Hollywoodized, but it's really ugly. And now, abduction is not something that you want to happen.
Wow.
Abduction is the very term itself is be outside of your will. Like, you don't want it to happen.
What about these people we were talking about in the last show that have encounters with like succubus and incubus?
Exactly.
You think they want to also have an encounter with UFO?
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. And another famous story, which I think, to be honest with you, would be the first widespread alien abduction story would be the Betty and Barney Hill. Yeah,
the hypnosis regression therapy people.
Yeah, now Betty and Barney Hill it was an interracial couple. I think it happened like sometime in the 50s or the 60s, where it was an interracial couple. They were driving down the road, and they just remember themselves. They see something in the sky. Their car, for whatever reason, stopped. Yeah, and they just remember these beings coming to the doors and
taking them
literally, like forcing them out, kind of pulling them out of the car. They black out, and then they remember themselves back in the car, like I don't know how much time later.
Yeah.
Now, they just didn't think anything of it until they started having side effects physically.
Yeah.
And then just like what you mentioned, they went through hypnosis.
Yeah.
And to try to remember some of the things that were done to them.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. It's gross, and it's just
not good.
It's not good. So a lot of these things, sexual things, really.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And there's a movie on it called The UFO Incident. There's a book on it. I mean, there's so much done on it.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's Betty and Barney Hill. Yeah. It's probably the earliest and most famous of the alien abduction, your classic one. and it's just really ugly. And this would be like your fourth kind.
Okay, so you said the fifth kind is actual communication.
The fifth kind, yes, would be actual communication. And I would think like, let's say if an alien craft landed on the White House lawn and they started doing treaties with the government, that would be like your fifth kind.
Okay.
Or let's say when an alien ship needs gas, goes to your house and borrows something. I mean, it's a transaction. There's some kind of communication.
Yeah.
And these stories I just gave you, Fire in the Sky and the Betty and Barney Hill, there was no communication. It was literally the quote-unquote aliens physically having their way with these human beings. Yeah. Now, yes, what does that sound like? It sounds like the incubus and the succubus.
Yeah.
It sounds very similar to that. Or even to the point of even demon possessions. Because what do? They literally have their way with you and do whatever you want. Do whatever they want. I'm sorry.
They have their own body in this case, and you have your own, but
Exactly.
Well, here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have up to 5. What happens to the result of these sexual interactions? Does that have a classification of its own?
No.
It doesn't have an official.
As far as I know, no. It only goes up to 5. Now, there's stories, if you want to get more into like the fringe, ufology, things like that, yes, where you start getting like hybrid babies and and things of that nature.
You mean black-eyed kids?
Yes. Actually, yes. Now, in some of these abduction stories that you can do research on, and they're all over the internet.
Yeah.
What they'll do is, like, ovum is taken from the women, semen is taken from the males, and they'll mix or do whatever they do on their ships.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, you get these horrible stories of where they'll actually use the abductees as incubators for their babies.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, they'll just take the baby and then they'll do whatever they do with the baby. And then, of course, you got your theories like your black-eyed kids and whatnot. Yes. But yes, you get stories like that. And I did kind of leave that out when we mentioned about the incubus and succubus.
Yeah.
How there are stories when it comes to the sexual acts they're doing, they're taking the semen from the men and inseminating the women victims. Yes. And there's even a name for these for the offspring, and it's called cambions.
Cambions.
Yeah. Now, this took a real weird turn, but you know what? This kind of stuff has been, I don't want to say documented, but it's been kind of known for hundreds of years already. Yeah. As far as when it pertains to the demon world. Yeah. Now it's almost being copied into this modern UFO world. Yeah. Where now these aliens replaced the demons. Yeah. And these cambions are being these hybrids. Yeah. Now, are hybrids real? We know for a fact they are. Okay. We know for a fact they are. Just this past month, they were able to splice human genes with the pig.
Yeah. Oh, you mean?
And they made an embryo. So
hybridization.
So we can do it.
Thing.
Human beings can already do it and have probably been doing it. So it's no jump to think that these more intelligent beings can do it themselves.
Well, that depends if you believe that they're intelligent beings or something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna link I think it's a Canary Cry episode.
CanaryCryRadio.com.
Yes, it's a Canary Cry episode where Gonz and Basil, they interview he's a psychologist.
Oh, right? That's right. Yeah.
He's an official psychologist who his speciality is abductions. And I'm just gonna briefly go over it. If you're interested, it's in the notes on this show so that you can listen for yourself. But basically, the psychologist has so much experience that he's able to find, or just by listening to the person and giving them therapy, he can find those people that are, faking it, as opposed to the people that have an authentic abduction experience, because there are some characteristics of these abductions. And, he goes all around the world. So
it's Dr. David Jacobs.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the one that he's interviewed, I think, like thousands of
literally thousands.
Abductees.
Exactly.
And he has so much experience, he's literally able to filter out the fake ones from the real ones.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's episode 102.
Awesome.
On CanaryCryRadio.com.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at is, and by the way, he takes a very practical stance on all of this. Towards the end, gets a little uneasy when Gons and Basil start questioning him on the origins, which is kind of where we're at in this conversation right now. Obviously, he, at least this Dr. Jacobs, is not a Christian.
He's not at all,
At all. Like, as a matter of fact, I think he's opposed to Christianity.
But he has the data in front of him.
But he has the empirical data. There you go, that word again. He has the data to back up what he's saying. And he's saying that there's, again, no profile. There's no age group. There's absolutely, no pattern into these abductions. Yet the hybridization is a thing that he noticed amongst the abductees. Apparently, the only thing he knows is that they're abducting these people in order to create a hybrid race. Mm-hmm. And that's like his big point. We don't even know where they're from, which is, if you're talking about extraterrestrials,
they could be from wherever.
And you're assuming that they're from some planet somewhere.
Quote unquote outer space. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't they be interested in bragging about how far they had to come to this planet? These are some of the questions I start having. Like, okay, of these abductees, nobody has an experience where these extraterrestrials are telling them where they're from. He actually makes a point of saying that they're extremely secretive. Yeah. They do mention different kinds of aliens, as in their physical aspect.
That's one thing I wanted to touch on.
There's apparently a hierarchy within these extraterrestrials. And like Armando was saying just a little while ago, the point is that when we look in antiquity and we see interaction with demons, we look in the modern times and we see interaction with quote-unquote UFOs.
Or aliens.
Aliens. And now we see a correlation.
They're almost exactly the same situations, except you're replacing the word demon with alien.
UFO.
With alien.
Yeah, alien. Whatever.
Or extraterrestrial, yeah.
Yeah. So that's exactly what Armando was saying. It's our postulation, and I concur, and I share the point of view that we're not talking about beings from other planets.
Yeah.
We're talking about demons
that are disguising or masquerading themselves as these otherworldly creatures.
Which makes sense, because if these demons have been here since, the creation, and they're part of this new age deception, what better way to disguise yourself as through a thing that can be explained with scientific terms? Yeah. Right? This new thing that our ancestors couldn't contemplate, which is space and space travel, supposedly. So there's this new discovery.
Yeah.
Extraterrestrials. But it's a huge subject. And Timothy Alberino and Steve Quayle have an amazing documentary series called True Legends.
Technology of the Fallen.
Technology of the Fallen is, I think, the first one.
The first one, yes.
Yeah. And they spring forth from the Genesis 6 account.
Yeah.
And the basis is...
You know what's funny? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The Genesis 6 account literally says what? That sons of God came from heaven.
Yeah.
And came down and saw the daughters of man and made it with them.
They were fair. Yeah.
Now, when I just described, let's say, like Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah.
Now, what exactly is that? You got some creature from somewhere else in the heavens came down, and in this case, it mated with Betty Hill.
Exactly.
So where does that sound familiar? You even got, it's almost literally exactly the Genesis 6 narrative.
Exactly. Which is also eerily similar to the Greek pantheon
of hybrids. You got your centaurs, minotaurs, all that.
I mean, you've got your gods of the Olympus.
Yeah, and what did these demigods. And what did these gods do? They came down, saw the daughters of men, had sex with them, and had hybrids. Exactly. The major one, Hercules. He's a demigod, half god, half man.
There's a lot of them.
At first, I can see a lot of people rolling their eyes and whatever. Now, we just give you specific examples of just one in the Bible. We gave the Greek pantheon of look, these stories are not anything new. And they're nothing new. Yeah, it's nothing new. So why is it such a stretch to believe that, or even to connect the dots? Yeah, really.
I mean, we're literally retelling the same story.
Exactly. We're just changing
in different wording. Mm-hmm. But in our point of view, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah. We're literally talking about demons. And the scary thing is that they have an agenda. Yep. And it's clear and it's evident. Yep. And it's ramping up. Mm-hmm. According to people that deal with...
like L.A. Marzulli. I would quote him. Yeah, Marzulli, he's a pioneer in this. Yeah. Now, one amazing fact or correlation between all these abductions... And now how else does it tie to, let's say, demon possessions? Now, what more do you need? Now, going back to David Jacobs. Yeah. How do these people stop the alien abductions?
Oh, yeah.
That's really if this isn't really like the smoking gun or the last thing you need to get you to even start thinking about a correlation, in these alien abductions, when it gets to a point of unbearable, like when there's so much experimentation on the individual, or they're just so terrified, for the most part, these individuals, just like anybody else, will do what? They'll pray and they'll cry out. So I don't know how many thousands of stories there are. An individual will claim he or she got abducted. They're on this science table or whatever, being experimented on. Yes. What do? They cry out the name of
Jesus Christ.
And what do you think happens after that? Yeah. They stop. Now, where does that sound familiar? Yeah. I mean, I could have sworn we did a show about it last week, where when somebody's possessed or somebody's being obsessed, you do what to make it stop? You cry out the name of Jesus Christ. So if that's not another just evidence that these UFO phenomena, aliens, extraterrestrials, that we believe are just masquerading themselves, that they're actual demons. I mean, what else do you want, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's making a stronger case.
Yeah, it's just making a stronger case for it. Yeah. When you got these alien abductees that are not even Christian in many cases. Yeah. That'll literally just cry out the name of Jesus and the abduction stops. Yeah. Now, if this alien truly did come from planet whatever, for one, he would have no knowledge of Jesus to even make him stop.
That's a
For
good
two,
point.
He wouldn't care because he's from some other planet.
Yeah.
So why would he stop? So it's like, you just, what more do you want? Yeah.
You know, the other big thing that gets me is this this move towards religion consolidating itself with science. Mm-hmm. And we start hearing rumors in the mainstream nowadays of religion alluding to extraterrestrials as a part of creation and as something that we need to welcome. Yeah. As like our space brothers.
Yeah. What did the Pope say? You need to baptize your space brothers. So the Pope literally said he would baptize an alien. Exactly. And they're encouraging it. Yeah.
Now there we're kind of stepping on the boundaries of what we consider end time prophecy, because it's spoken about in end time prophecy, where it's literally warning us that towards the end times there will be this movement to unify both state and religion, the different religions around the world,
like a one world religion,
in order to pave the way for the Antichrist, who is going to make himself known onto the world stage, perform all these miracles, and basically take over. Yeah. So, given the current landscape of mainstream rumor, I'm going to call this rumorology.
Rumorology.
Yeah, I mean, you could see patterns. Yeah. I mean, we are here in South Texas. United States of America, where we just suffered, is the word I'm going to use, a drastic change of power, where we were exposed to how vile and blatant organized media can get. Mm-hmm. And even these vile and blatant organized mediums are seemingly pushing the idea of ancient alien theory.
Yep. You even got a show.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got I think it's like on the 21st season or something like that.
Yeah, you got, Zacharias Sitchin's life work.
The Sitchins out there. Yeah.
The Sitchinites. Which, maybe we'll do a show specifically on Sanskrit.
Yeah, I think we should. Work. I mean, right now we're kind of we went pretty deep into it, but there's so much more to go. Yeah. To go farther, it's a rabbit hole that just goes deeper and deeper. So to recap what we were just talking about, like I just mentioned, myself and Carlos, we believe that this UFO alien phenomenon is nothing more than just a deception by demons.
By demons.
And really,
straight up.
Another reason why I think so is because one of the main arguments for people trying to disprove God is if there's life on other planets, then somehow that disqualifies God's existence. So what better, which is, for me, it's the dumbest argument you could ever have.
Yeah.
But if anything, if there is life on other planets, it would only just add to his grandeur and his majesty, that he can do literally whatever he wants, wherever he wants. And he created this life. Yeah. But going back to it, so if like I give the extreme example, if an alien craft were to land on the White House lawn, how many people would immediately question their faith and question Christianity?
Yeah,
tons of them, droves of them.
Falling away would happen
immediately. And what is the demon's goal? What is the devil's goal? He wants to lead as many people astray as possible. Before he used demons and just as they were. Yeah. Now in this more technological advanced age, demons aren't cool anymore.
Yeah, no, they're not cool.
Demons aren't cool anymore. They're not sexy anymore.
Yeah.
So what's sexy now? Star Trek, Star Wars.
Exactly.
These aliens space. The future is sexy.
Yeah.
Now, the main attribute that these quote-unquote UFOs have is that they're so advanced. They're sexy. They're futuristic. Yes. They're sleek and whatnot.
Yeah. They're almost allowed to get away with things that we can only dream about.
Exactly. There's people that actually want to be abdicted because they want to, things like that.
There's songs about it.
Yeah, there's you know what? Let me we'll mention it. There's a specific a song from Katy Perry called Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people have heard it.
Yes.
Lots and lots of people have heard it.
Major number one Billboard song.
One time I got Carlos ugly on it because he had heard it before.
Yeah.
But I challenged him. I was like, Carlos, you know what? Listen to the lyrics. Yeah. Listen to what she's actually singing.
Yeah.
She is literally describing an alien abduction. Yeah. She wants the alien to quote unquote fill her with her poison.
Yeah.
And she wants to
be probed.
She wants to be probed.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that's an allusion to sexual activity.
Yeah.
So she wants to have that. Even in the music video.
Yeah.
The very last scene is her in a hybrid state with these alien legs, hybridized, with holding the hand of like this primitive human.
Yeah.
Now, that's all cool. That's just that. Now, what did we just talk about? Like we're literally just talking about it.
Before we roll any forward,
but that's an ugly song. And you know what? I'm gonna encourage you to go to YouTube, look up Katy Perry's Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
If you have to, pause it and listen to every line, every word she's saying. You know why? Because your sons and daughters are singing this song.
Yeah.
Your sons and daughters are listening to this song and thinking it's the coolest thing.
Yeah. Now, to be really fair and to accentuate what Armando's saying, the reason why he got me and the moment he chose to get me was precisely because I was going through my road to Damascus moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go too far into our history, but really quickly.
Do it.
Before I met Armando, I was heavily into the New Age movement, the New Age philosophy.
He was a grandmaster.
No. There, I name dropped some books in one of our episodes. I have done a lot of study on different themes in the occultism. I don't want to go into specifics, and I'm not going to name drop anymore because it's not worth it. But after many, many years of studying different ideologies, different cultures, in different languages, different points of view, I was confident, I was going to say, into my worldview and how that included my concept of God and everything within creation. And when I met him, he invited me to reread scripture. And there was something about the determination in his voice. And before that, we had been going back and forth on a lot of subjects, which is kind of why we're doing this show. I mean, we each have a good amount of research, enough to just sit down and crank out 2-hour shows every time we just sit and talk about stuff that we like.
And we still need more time.
Yeah. And we still need more time. Exactly. So that's why we decided to do this. And I went at him at that moment, I was studying the Kybalion.
Oh, you had to mention the book.
Oh yeah. I went at him saying that this tiny book of 10 chapters contained the keys to so many things in the universe. And the Hermetic principles were just answering everything. And he kind of scoffed at me and just, I basically portrayed this book as the book.
As truth.
And yeah, exactly. And Armando having a background and being a career Christian, he came back at me with the real book, and I guess for me, that road to Damascus moment happened because I had taken the limit of my intellect to its extreme and was presented with the Bible again, because I had read it, but not in the same spirit, in the same intention. And after, like I said, after I had gone to the limit of my intellect and thought I knew or had researched everything that there was to research and know about every ideology and everything that there was to know, I was presented with this book, with the Bible. And this time when I read it, or actually listened through it, because I was working at the time, I came at it with everything that I had known, or that I had accepted to be true, or that I had accepted to be logical and that fit into my mental paradigms of how things are. And the Bible just slapped me.
Yeah.
It just slapped me. me. There were moments that it tore me to my knees. And, made me realize that I knew nothing at all. Yeah. And that I had been wrong and proudful about taking this wrong step and accepting all these ideologies just because they sounded more logical than biblical theology, and just because they sounded more believable, if I'm even allowed to use that word.
Yeah.
But now that I had all these different points of view, the message in the Bible just spoke to my heart, not to my mind, which is what I really want to drive home. When you pay attention with your heart and bypass your mind, miraculous things happen. And I had been going through like a week's worth of just jaw-dropping wow moments when my logic had failed me, and there was this simple little book, the Bible, who was answering all of my questions, who was telling me where I had been wrong through parables, through literal sentences, through teachings, through a lot of things. And it was just, awe-inspiring. Anyways, so when he tells me to listen to this song, I'm at the tail end of my road to Damascus moment, so I'm sensitive.
You're more aware.
And he lays it on me, and that's the moment when I fully realized the level of manipulation and downright
deceit
and subliminal trickery
that's out there. Yeah,
that's out there right now. Because I had heard that song weeks prior. I probably even hummed to the tune, but I hadn't understood it until, Armando brought me back to the path. And walking the path, I could see just how astray I had become. And I was one of those skeptics. I was one of those guys who would debate with you. And that's why we got into it, because I would debate with him for hours about certain subjects.
Theology, philosophical matters. It's not just, we're not arguing over what does this verse mean. No, we're talking about basic concepts of life.
Yeah. And things that are going on.
Exactly. So we had some real in-depth conversations, and we really want to share that with you all.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this show. And I came at it full, defending my new age point of view, my reincarnation,
metaphysics,
God, metaphysical.
We are our own gods.
Yeah, like I can create magic sigils to subliminally manipulate you into things and stuff like that. No. And, the word is powerful, and it's simple, and it's multifaceted, and it's multidimensional, and it speaks volumes without saying much. And, I took a tangent there, but
no, it's all right.
That's why he got me on that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share that with y'all so that you can listen to what we're saying and maybe analyze it with your brain, but allow your heart to sink in what we're trying to tell you, because we're here to warn a lot of people.
Yes, to wake you up.
And to warn you before this great deception is upon us,
I think in many cases we're literally connecting the dots for you.
Yeah.
Like we're literally presenting evidence for you and and literally just, this is how it is.
Yeah. And for a lot of people,
they don't want to.
Well, not only that, a lot of people were allowing you to talk about these things, even amongst your closest friends, because we're saying a lot of things that our church members or churches that we go to, they're thinking about it.
Yeah, but nobody says it.
Nobody wants to say it. Well, see, I don't mind being somebody's excuse. I don't mind being, Carlos and Armando, we're talking about this. If we're that excuse to get some of these subjects on this table, use us. And you know what? Comment below. Comment.
Yeah.
Tell us, how this has impacted your life, and give us suggestions, Yeah. Because, we're going to keep making these shows. And we reached this point right now where we tied together 3 shows worth of paranormal culminating into, it's not paranormal. It's never really been just paranormal. Here is the top of that pyramid. Pardon the pun. They're physical. They're real.
Yeah.
They're going to take you and do experiments on you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we were just discussing it also on sometime in the recent past, there was this jump from when demons were just this physical entity bothering you and just straight out just obsessing over you and molesting you, really.
Yeah.
So now you got these physical alien abductions where now you actually have physical evidence
or occurrences
with
like the military.
Exactly. Now you got these fifth kind occurrences, or even fourth kind, where I would encourage some of you guys to look up L.A. Marzulli. And there was a Dr. Roger Lear. He just recently passed away. Yeah. Where they literally have these alien abduction victims, and they're doing surgery on them, and they're pulling out these implants.
Yeah.
I mean, you got literal physical evidence of some kind of implantation or abduction on these poor victims.
Tracking.
Going back to it, like, what more do you want? You got for one, you got eyewitness accounts. Yeah. You have, in some cases, you have pictures. You have stories. You have physical evidence. I mean, what more do you want? So the skeptic out there, I mean, God, you have to have faith to beliege that everything's okay. Like, you know, I mean, it's just like, dude,
you have to have more faith to look the other way.
Exactly. Like I honestly, at that point, I really can't help you. But it sounds ugly, but I mean, if you're being presented with physical evidence and you still don't believe, I mean, good God, I just like I'll be praying for you. But
if you need it to happen
to you, oof, I'll pray for you more, because it's just gonna be that much worse.
And you know what? I think it's like that. It's too late.
Yeah.
If it's happening to you, it's probably too late.
It's probably too late. Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to it, there was that one. There's some jump where these spiritual beings somehow became physical.
Yeah.
Now, I really don't know how that happened. There's theories out there or whatnot. But the reason I mentioned that is, like, we're gonna go back to the UFO topic. Now, there's physical evidence of UFOs. Of course, you got, like you just mentioned, your crop circles.
Yeah.
We have the famous, I don't know anybody who doesn't know about it, Roswell. Yeah, I mean, come on. If you don't know about Roswell,
where have you been?
And look it up online. It's literally everywhere, and that's your stereotypical UFO story.
Yeah.
Now, then you got your physical evidence. Yeah. Another one I did want to mention that I alluded to on the previous show was the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Now, I'm not referring to the movie that just recently came out.
Which was cheesy.
No, I actually liked it. It was pretty cool. I liked it, was cheesy, yeah. But it's not... coincidentally, what's it about? It's about an alien race that comes down and attacks Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Funny. But in this case, the actual Battle of Los Angeles took place on February 24th and 25th, 1942. So this would have occurred at 2 a.m. and a general all clear was given at 7 a.m. Now, what happened between those times?
Yeah.
There was air raid sirens. There was a total blackout of the Los Angeles area. And it was reported by major media outlets at the time. You got photo evidence. There's radio broadcasts, television broadcasts of the time where anywhere from 9 to 25 objects moved south from Santa Monica to Long Beach.
Yeah.
And then disappeared. In those few hours between 2 a.m. and when the all clear signal was given at 7 a.m., something like 1,400 to 2,000 shells of artillery shells and countless anti-aircraft machine gun rounds were shot into the air, shooting at these 9 to 25 objects.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was taken so seriously that you actually had at the time it was the U.S. Army Coastal Defense shooting these things. Mm. Now, originally they thought that they were these Japanese aircraft because, if you remember, Pearl Harbor happened in December 1941. So this was February 1942. So the country would have been on edge. So they immediately thought it was the Japanese. Yeah, after a while, after a few hours of shooting these things in the air with up to 2,000 artillery shells and nothing happens to them, it's not human anymore. It's just something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got so bad that you actually, I think, had 5 people die from car accidents and heart attacks from all the ruckus.
Okay.
So, like I said, this is like would be a mass sighting. I guess you would say. You literally have an entire city. Yeah, you literally have an entire city seeing the exact same thing, similar to like the Phoenix lights, if you want to look up those.
Yeah. Which are still going on.
Going on, by the way. Yeah. And it's something I wanted to bring up that, you know what, you can shoot at these things now. So now, like, these I'm gonna call them demons. These aliens/demons are now in physical craft.
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts. They're being manufactured somewhere. Things.
I also think there's a reason there's been like a hush job. Well, like
a cover up. Dun dun dun.
Like a kind of cover up, just waiting for the right moment to go, oh, wait a minute, by the way, that thing we were covering up, well, they were extraterrestrials.
Yeah. That's called disclosure.
There you go.
That's coming out, yeah.
Yeah, it's the next big thing.
Yeah, that's the next big step would be just mass disclosure where the government finally just says, you know what? This whole time, aliens have been here.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Vatican's going to come out with other artifacts.
Yeah.
That they've been recollecting.
You got these huge...
from everywhere.
Yeah, you got these huge conspiracies on that as well.
Yeah, which we'll probably get into.
Yeah.
But, you know, if...
in future shows.
If disclosure and the great deception that we're talking about happens before we get to those shows, February 15, 2007... I hope we warned a few, y'all.
I hope we woke up a few of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I think we really wanted to tie in on how these seemingly paranormal events are actually demonic in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the same thing.
It's literally this. It's the same demon.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's going to be the same. It's the devil, Satan himself, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. It's going to be the father of all lies. Yeah. Because UFOs are lies. Witches are all lies. Yeah. Tarot cards are all lies.
They're all lies.
Succubus, demons.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about? Lechuzas, they're all lies. And who's the father of all lies?
Yeah.
Clearly says the devil.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Which is a good note. Is a good note to kind of let people breathe for now. Because we're going to retake this subject to attack another aspect of it.
Of the paranormal.
Especially when we get into the science series, where we're actually going to get a little more nuts and bolts, like you said a little while ago. Nuts and bolts with the mechanisms of the divine.
Yep.
But for now, that's the culmination of these last 3 shows.
Our big reveal.
Yeah, our big review. Look, the paranormal, there's nothing abnormal about it. We just choose to see it in a mystical way because that's how we've been groomed to believe. But to ancient people, this was fact.
Yeah.
We're Hollywooded out nowadays. It's the same thing people have been talking about. UFOs aren't anything new.
One thing I would push, it's a super cheesy movie, but it really did wake me up, and it's a movie I saw a long time ago. It's a movie called They Live.
Yeah.
THEYLIVE.
Yeah.
I think that movie's from like 1985,
with
but it's
Roddy Piper.
Yeah, but it's extremely ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And you know what?
It's a metaphor.
It's extremely metaphorical. Yeah. And you know what? If you need help, like finding that movie or even trying to decipher what it's trying to tell you, let us know, man. Because I know the first time I saw it, I didn't grasp everything. But as you watch it more and more, it's good. It's pretty self-explanatory. But the more and more you watch it, the more you realize how, even though this movie was made in 1985, it's extremely relevant to today. Yeah. And watch glasses. It, look it up, take those glasses. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Start seeing things for the way they really are.
For what it is.
They live.
They do.
Yeah. So, we're wrapping up the dark of the paranormal side. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to touch on, as we promised and we talked about before, is the lighter side.
Yes.
And of course, you got your dark paranormal events, but you know what?
Yeah.
What also is paranormal? Miracles. Miracles are awesome.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a miracle in their life?
Yeah. For
now, a miracle would be defined as an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs.
That's a very official definition. According to who?
That's a definition from, I think, the Oxford Dictionary.
I'd call that pretty official.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
Interesting to use the word divine.
Yeah, because it's really God, or the divine. I would say God. I'm going to say God.
Yeah.
It's God interfering in my life for my benefit. I might not see it as my benefit at the time, but at the end of the day, it's for my benefit.
Yeah.
And examples of miracles would be literally the entire Bible or the New Testament. How many countless miracles did Jesus do? Perform, healing, driving out demons, water into wine, walking into water, stopping the storm. I mean,
do we have classifications of miracles like the
abduction ones? Yeah. You know what? I don't know. That's a good question, and that's something I could look up.
Don't you think that's a little sad? I mean, as a society.
Well, because we focus so much on the bad. You look at the news at 10 o'clock. You're going to hear 90% of what's wrong in the world and 10% of what's right.
It's kind of their job.
Yeah. Wow. But there's miracles all around us. I mean, we all have our own personal stories. I have my stories of miracles that have happened in my life. Yeah. I know you have miracles that have happened in your life.
Let's hear one, dude. Come on.
Well, no, I mean, I wanted to go over some other ones. As far as in my life itself, to be honest with you, it's a miracle I'm still even here today. There's so many instances where I've been literally on the cusp of death, where there'd be almost drowning as a child. Yeah. Or there's honestly a time when I was younger, in my late teens, when I think I actually died for a few moments of a sickness I had when I had tonsillitis. So what happened is my tonsils swelled up to the size of golf balls and actually were in my throat and didn't allow me to breathe.
Oh, so you were choking.
So I was suffocating. Yeah. Now eventually I got them torn out. I mean torn out. I got them removed, excuse me. Whoa. But in that time where I was quote unquote out of my body, I did have an experience with an angel. And I can go into that later on, but that'd be a miracle in my life where I believe that, you know what, God wasn't done with me yet. So he allowed me, he gave me a little bit more time to be on this earth to keep on spreading his word and waking people up. Yeah. Now we also have stories like within the military. How many stories have we heard of soldiers that were wounded and by some miraculous event they were able to survive? Or you got this outnumbered force up against these like insurmountable odds and somehow they pull through. Yeah. I mean, you got stories in the military. You got financial miracles. I don't know how many times in my church I've heard of individuals that'll I mean, they're asking for prayer because they need money for so and so. Yeah. And you know what happens? Through some chain of events, through some quote unquote miracle. Yeah. It happens for them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's happened to me too. There's been times where, you know what, I'm just low financially, and you know what, I'm praying for something, and it's not that I'm asking God, you know what, God, go ahead and deposit some money in my account. It's not. I mean, it doesn't work like that. No. Through some chain of events, he'll make it so that you're okay, you're taken care of. Yeah. And other miracles I can give are just different testimonies and life stories of people I've met, former convicted felons, drug addicts. Yeah. Inmates in prison that have literally turned their lives around and have become totally different than what they were. Yeah. Before knowing Christ, knowing Jesus, so that he changes their lives. It's a miracle that a lot of them are still alive. I know there's people in my church that before they started going to church, they were described as totally different than they are now. Yeah. The miracle makes them so much better. And I know, like, I have my own personal stories where I've met, like I said, drug addicts, convicted felons that were, some even convicted of murder. Oh. That, I mean, they did these horrible, horrible things, but that's the awesome power of Christ, that he can actually heal that. Now, that's not a phenomena. I mean, I don't know what is. Yeah, no, you're right. And of course, you got your miracle of birth. I mean, we just recently had a little girl, my daughter. Yes, and that alone is a miracle. Yeah, and I know you have a story. Yes, that you know what, that's a miracle right there. Yeah, yeah. My soon-to-be wife, she was what you could call barren. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had I'm trying to think of the technical name, but whatever. The idea is that about 10 years ago, she went through some hardcore therapies. And the doctor basically told her that no, you know, you're never gonna have kids, so just you know, don't even think about it. And we now have a beautiful baby boy, massive baby boy. Yeah, good looking. Yeah, good looking. I'm gonna leave that as homework for y'all. I might talk about the meaning of the name. Yeah, Sotiel. Mm-hmm.
But he's there. That's a miracle.
So that's a miracle in itself. I don't know how many other stories. I mean, we've all heard stories like that where the doctor tells you you're never going to walk again. You're never going to see again through that eye. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. But through the faith of the individual and, of course, the power of Christ, a miracle happens and you're able to overcome these quote-unquote diagnoses from the doctors. Yeah. And even it comes to the point where the doctors themselves are completely just at all. And even on top of that, how many stories have we heard of doctors on the operating table where they know for a fact this individual should have died in surgery, but not gonna make it. Yeah, but here they are, still alive and kicking. Yeah. And there's so many stories that happen in the medical field, military, financial, personal, testimonies, even in society, that miracles are undeniable.
Yeah, and they range from what are seemingly small things to super miraculous things like what we just shared. I mean, you could go on YouTube and of course type in close calls. I don't know if y'all have seen those close call videos where there's some guys at a rally, a car rally. Oh yeah,
a car's about to hit him.
And a car's about to hit him, and for some reason there's just this pole right in the exact spot. And it misses them, Yeah. I don't want to make a miracle corny because it's not. What we're trying to say is that there's so many examples out there
all the time
that if a miracle hasn't happened to you, one of two: either you don't want to admit it's been a miracle, or you just haven't noticed needed it. You haven't needed it yet. Which doesn't mean that it's not available for you. But a miracle as defined is an exception. So if you haven't had a moment where, a car is coming at you and just something miraculous comes out of nowhere to save you, then I think you're more blessed than all of us. Yeah. Because...
You're blessed because you don't even need the miracle.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
For us that need miracles, it's because
we did something wrong.
Not just that, or just what? There's some hardship in our lives that we need help. Yeah. Now, if you've never had a miracle, then that means you don't need help, and you're just some other kind of. I don't know anybody that doesn't need help.
That doesn't need help.
Exactly. But like I said, miracles are everywhere, and we tend to focus so much on the Ouija boards and the UFOs that we completely are blinded to the fact of the miracle happening right in our lives as we speak. Yeah. That we just don't see it. Yeah. And and of course the miracle of all miracles would be, of course, Christ's his resurrection. Yeah. It's through that he completely concreted, and that's who he is. He is Christ.
Yeah, he attained
and through
victory.
That, he was able to he literally conquered death.
He opened the door for salvation where there was none before. Yep. Which I know we've talked about this. I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show yet. But that part of the divine plan is so awesome and remained hidden from the enemy. If he knew that by Jesus Christ dying, the door to salvation was going to be opened, he would have never allowed Jesus Christ to die.
To be crucified, yeah.
He would have never allowed him to be crucified.
The devil knew.
If he would have known
that by Christ dying we would have all been saved, he would have never let him die.
He would have done everything in his power to keep him alive.
Exactly.
I mean, he keeps other people alive, and like we were saying, these dark forces and people make deals and experience exchanges of favors for favors from the dark side. Something as big as keeping alive he who came to save us all. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that, leave on a lighter note, that miracles are all around you. We could do an entire show on it, but I would just ask you just to open your eyes and see the miracle happen in front of you. Yeah. Before expecting us to do a show on it. But
now it's there. It's there. Don't be quick to ask for something humongous, because like I just said, if something hasn't happened to you, then you are more blessed than all of us. So I guess would that wrap up the paranormal.
We're good. Now. We're done for the paranormal for now.
There's stuff I wanted to get into.
Dude, I
wanted you to get into the black-eyed kids.
No, those are ugly. Those are the hybrids. I don't want to get into it.
It's a whole thing. Hybridized human beings.
We'll get into that one episode. I'll get into it. For those, you're gonna need to lower the lights. I'm gonna have to do my voice because it's gonna be really ugly. But we'll get it. I'll do a show on the black-eyed kids. I believe the next show, we'll focus on the Bible, on what it is to who and different ways we've read it, things like that. And we'll do a show on the Bible. And of course, if it needs to be extended to more shows, we'll definitely do that as well. Yeah, we'll do a part series, and then after that we'll do. There's a list. We have it there. I think we mentioned it in our very first intro episode. And I just want to say thank you once again for listening to us, for all your support, for all your comments. And keep them coming. Yep. Comment below. Spread the show. Feel free to share it to whoever you want. Yes. I would encourage you. The support tab on our website, which has a list of stuff that we want to do. Books we will gracefully take as donations that we want to review, so we can talk about them. And thank you guys. Yeah, thank you. God bless. And we'll see you. God bless. We'll talk to you guys next week or soon. Yeah.